At first light, an emperor writes to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Today, guided by Robert Kiyosaki's Hard Lessons and steadied by Marcus Aurelius, Calm Discipline, am exposing 8 money mindset traps that quietly keep you poor and showing you the exits without rage, luck, or excuses. Quick flashes: an empty wallet, a thudding credit card bill, a weathered statue of Marcus, a few simple coins, a blank ledger waiting for your first deliberate entry. I've distilled Kiyosaki's wealth principles into a Stoic field guide, one trap, one action executed today. No jargon, no fluff, just movements you control. Now step into the story world. Dawn spills over Rome. The emperor sits with his wax tablet, breathing evenly. We will walk with Marcus through 8 chambers of the mind. In each chamber, a trap. In each, an exit. The doors are already open. The choice to enter is yours. Part 1, Trap of Employee-Only Identity. At first light, imagine an emperor writing to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That sentence is your opening gate. Today we face the first of 8 money mindset traps. Robert Kiyosaki warns about the trap of the employee-only identity. This is the quiet belief that a paycheck is the only path, that time must always be traded for money, and that the best you can do is to hope your boss, your company, or the wider economy treats you kindly. Marcus Aurelius would challenge that belief at the root. Do not tie your fortune to what you don't control. A job is honorable. It feeds your present. Ownership is optional. It frees your future. The distinction changes everything. Consider the treadmill most of us were trained to love. You sell an hour, you earn $1. You sell another hour, you earn another $1. But when the clock stops, income stops. No leverage, no assets, no ownership. If you're sick, income falls. If you're fired, income disappears. Kiyosaki's lens is simple: build or buy assets that put money into your pocket whether or not you clock in. In practice, that looks less like gambling and more like creating small machines that can run without you. Picture 2 designers earning the same $2,000 a month. The first sells all 160 hours each month to clients. The second spends 140 hours on clients and 20 hours creating a $29 digital template kit. If 300 buyers find that kit over 3 months, that's $8,700 in revenue without additional hours, plus the chance that month 4 brings another 50, 100, or 200 sales. Not a miracle, just leverage. Stoicism meets money at the level of control. You control your habits, your learning, your output, and your systems. You do not control markets, bosses, or headlines. Therefore, your strategy must prefer what you can influence daily. Marcus writes, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Translate that into modern finance. Waste no more time arguing about the best market timing, the perfect niche, or what others owe you. Build one asset this week, imperfect, small, but real. The psychological shift from worker to builder is the hinge on which your financial door swings. Let's talk numbers, because numbers make fog disappear. Suppose you carve out 7 days to ship a minimum viable asset, a micro course, a paid newsletter with a clear promise, or a niche template pack. You price it at $19.39 low, enough for impulse, high enough to matter. You commit to improving it each month instead of constantly starting over. You post one helpful thread daily for 30 days in relevant communities, each post teaching a tiny result and linking to your asset only at the end. Even if the conversion is modest, say 1% of readers buy, you begin to experience the odd sensation of money arriving while you're not present. Meanwhile, your day job remains the anchor, paying the bills without panic. One income buys oxygen, the other buys options. Identity shapes behavior more than goals do. If you think of yourself as an employee trying to start something, your projects will always be secondary, squeezed into leftover energy, and resented for stealing rest. If you adopt the identity of a builder who uses a job to fund the build, the hierarchy flips. Your job becomes a strategic investor in your assets. This subtle shift cleans up your calendar. You will instinctively defend a daily 60, 90-minute block for creation the way a farmer respects first light. A man's worth, Marcus says, is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. Let your ambition be controllable to produce one useful asset each month for the next 12 months. 12 assets are not 12 lotteries. They are a portfolio of machines, some tiny one or two, surprising, all teachable. Objections rise. What if nobody buys the Stoic answer, do the work that is yours? Detach from outcomes you can command. In practical terms, if the market says no, you do not panic. You ask why. You test a new headline, a clearer promise, a tighter use case, a shorter checkout. You run a small A/B test on your landing page. Version A promises save 5 hours a week. Version B promises finish client work 2 days earlier. Which wins? You collect real feedback instead of nursing imaginary wounds. Another objection, I don't have time. Reframe, you don't have a calendar. Audit your screen time for 7 days. If the average person spends 2 hours on social apps daily, that's roughly 60 hours a month. Redirect half toward creation, and you found your first asset window without touching sleep. A key principle here is compounding, not only of money but of assets distribution and reputation. The first asset is slow and awkward. The second borrows content and lessons from the first. By the third, you have a small email list. At a 2% click-through and 1% purchase rate, 2,000 subscribers can translate to 20 sales per launch cycle. At $29, that's $580 for a single messages mall. Yes, but imagine improving copy, increasing the price to $39 with added support or bundling assets quarterly. Compounding is not dramatic day to day. It is overwhelming year to year. As Seneca advised, no person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have. Choose the desire to build over the desire to display. The returns are quieter but far larger. Now practice. The exercise for this chapter is called the Builder's Ledger. Take a blank page and draw 3 columns: asset, idea, first version, distribution plan. In asset, idea lists 3 low-cost candidates you can make in 1 week, a niche checklist that saves professionals a boring hour, a 5-email crash mini course, a template library that standardizes a painful process. In first version, define the smallest version that still delivers a result, 1 page 5, lessons 10 templates. In distribution plan, outline 3 daily actions for 10 days, teach 1 insight from the asset post. 1 small win from users or your own testing, and ask 1 clarifying question to your audience to learn their language. Commit to a 7-day build, then a 10-day share. Don't chase viral, chase useful. To support your build, create the 3-tier time stack. Tier 1, non-negotiable, 60 minutes each morning or evening to create every single day. Tier 2, batching 90 minutes twice a week to refine and document screenshots, short clips, instructions. Tier 3, lightweight distribution, 20 minutes daily to post a teaching snippet in one place your audience gathers. Guard Tier 1 as if it were a meeting with your future self. Marcus would say, at day's first light, tell yourself today, I will face interference, ingratitude, arrogance, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. Add to that list distraction, expect it, defeat it. Money is the byproduct of solved problems. So keep your builder identity anchored to problems that return every week in your niche. The more boring and repeatable the problem, the better the asset economics. An invoice template, a data cleaning script, a client onboarding kit, a social post scheduler, a negotiation email pack, each of these rescues hours for someone. If your asset saves a user 1 hour a week and that hour is worth $25 to them, pricing at $29.49 is rational, not random. The test of a good asset is simple. Does 1 sentence explain the result? If not, the asset is still a concept. Sharpen it until a stranger can understand. We close with a calm challenge and a clear call. Kiyosaki warns that the employee-only identity will keep you poor because it chains your future to a single income stream you don't fully control. Marcus urges you to anchor your life in what is within your command. Unite these insights today. Take your builder's ledger, choose 1 idea, and ship a first version within 7 days. Then share a lesson from the build every day for 10 days. Comment on this video the phrase Emperor's Ledger, and it'll send you a simple checklist that turns identity into daily steps, principles, prompts, and a 1-page tracker. Subscribe for weekly Stoic money breakdowns, each one converting philosophy into cash-flowing practice. Remember Marcus' quiet verdict. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Think like a builder, then calmly do the work. Part 2, Trap of Expense Obedience. At dawn, when the city yawns awake and the first transactions of the day flicker to life, I want you to picture a quiet ledger on your desk. On one side, income certain, periodic, comforting. On the other, expenses, subtle, multiplying, endlessly persuasive. Robert Kiyosaki warns of a trap that feels like progress, but behaves like a snare. The way expenses rise to salute your income, step for step, promotion by promotion, bonus by bonus. It is the choreography of lifestyle creep. You climb your cost, climb, you feel busier and somehow safer, but your surplus, the thin oxygen line of freedom, never thickens. In the language of Stoicism, you have outsourced your peace to purchasing. Marcus Aurelius would put it flatly. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself and your way of thinking. The paycheck can rise, the mind can still be poor. Think of expense obedience as a reflex learned by repetition. You earned more, so you upgraded the apartment, doubled the data plan, added 2 subscriptions, joined another membership you rarely use, and told yourself it was normal because everyone around you did the same. But wealth is not a mirror of your neighbors. It is the difference between what flows in and what is captured. A simple ratio governs the game. If your savings and investing rate is near zero, compounding has nothing to multiply. Kiyosaki's model is harsh in its honesty. Assets grow from the surplus you protect, not from the brand names you collect. The great mistake is calling consumption self-care, when in truth it is self-sedation. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." If craving grows as quickly as your income, poverty merely changes costumes. Let's replace opinion with arithmetic, because arithmetic is merciless and merciful in equal measure. Suppose you earn $1,000 a month. Spend it all, and you are standing, still, no compounding, no cushion. Cut expenses to $800, invest $200 at a modest long-term average return, say 78%, and over a decade, that single decision can accumulate tens of thousands. Increase the income to $2,000, but let spending rise to $1,900, and you have less freedom than the person who earns half as much, but saves 25%. The important variable is not the number of zeros in your paycheck. It is the percentage of that paycheck you refuse to surrender to impulse. Epictetus reminds us, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Prices, trends, and the neighbor's new car are beyond your control. Your savings rate is not. Expense obedience is sneaky because it hides inside identity. You do not simply buy an item. You buy a story about yourself, a better professional, a more attentive parent, a person who deserves it because the week was hard. But the Stoic asks a prior question: does this purchase serve the life I claim to want? Imagine 2 engineers, same income. The first treats raises as permission slips, nicer lease, new streaming bundles, recurring meal kits. The second treats raises as leverage, 15-25% automatic increase to investing, 5% to professional skill building, and a hard cap on lifestyle. After 3 years, the first engineer has upgraded photos. The second has upgraded freedom. This is not ascetic hardship. It is joyful sufficiency. Marcus again, if you seek tranquility, do less. Or more accurately, do what's essential. Here is a concept that changes the shape of your month: the automatic gap. On payday, before you see it, before you feel it, before your mind invents rationalizations, a fixed slice, 15 to 25%, leaves your checking and enters an investment or asset account. This is not a tip. It is a structural decision. Structure beats mood. When the money is already working, the temptation to inflate lifestyle shrinks. If you think you can rely on willpower, remember this: willpower is brilliant at 8 a.m. and exhausted at 8 p.m. Systems do not tire. A second concept: the 3-bucket flow essentials, investing optional. Put your rent, food, utilities, and transportation in essentials. Put your compounding soldiers in investing. Put your fun but only your planned fun in optional. Separate accounts. Automatic transfers. As soon as the income lands, the water's diverted into the right rivers. Numbers again to soothe the noise. Imagine a person who earns $1,500 monthly. They route $300, 20% to investing. Of the remaining $1, $200, they assign $900 to essentials and $300 to optional. Over a year, $3,600 goes to assets before any attempt to optimize anything. If a broad low-fee investment average returns 7% long-term and contributions continue, the gap widens every year due to compounding and occasional raises that feed the investing bucket first. Now imagine a friend who earns $2,500 but saves nothing because every raise funded a new payment. Which one is richer in money and in optionality? After 5 years, the answer is painfully clear, and that clarity becomes freedom. Canceling small leaks sounds trivial until you map the year. 3 subscriptions at $9, $12, and $59 look harmless. Annualized, they are $432. If your savings rate is low, reclaiming $432 plus one bigger discretionary expense, say a weekly delivery habit that quietly costs 40 can free $2,500 a year. At an 8% return for 10 years, that $2,500 annually approaches a five-figure foundation. The point is not to remove all comforts. The point is to choose them deliberately, eyes open, and only after paying your future self first. A cup of coffee is not the enemy. An undisciplined pattern is. But what about joy? Stoicism is not the enemy of pleasure. It is the discipline of proportion. You can create a rule called joy with a border. Choose 2 luxuries you truly feel: the concert ticket with a friend, the annual family trip, and fund them inside optional, without debt, guilt, or drift. Everything else must justify its place, or it is escorted out. When you know plan, joy is protected. Saying no to passing cravings feels less like deprivation and more like intelligence. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants, Epictetus said. Few wants does not mean no joys, it means clean joys. Let's design a personal audit you can complete in one sitting. Title a page: The Cost of Being Me. List your fixed expenses: housing, utilities, insurance, transport, debt payments. List your flexible expenses: groceries, dining, entertainment, subscriptions. For each line, answer 3 questions. Can I reduce this by 120% without harming health or work? Can I automate the payment to remove late fees and mental load? Can I replace it with a once-per-month ritual that feels better and costs less? If the answer is yes to any, implement immediately. Then create a separate page called Things I Thought I Needed. Write down 5 items you purchased in the last 90 days that did not improve your life after week 1. Circle the pattern. That circle is your teacher. Another practice: a 30-minute value hunt every 2 weeks. Spend 15 minutes negotiating one bill call. Your internet provider asks for a loyalty rate, or switch to a lower tier that matches your usage. Spend the next 15 minutes cleaning your subscriptions and selling one idle item you own. Nothing dramatic, no heroic frugality. But imagine doing this for 12 months. If each value hunt saves or earns you an extra $20, $50, that is $246 a year, not counting the larger one-time wins. Tally these on a simple tracker. Visible progress is fuel. There will be objections. I deserve nice things. You do. And future. You deserves oxygen, time, and options. The discipline is not about punishment. It is about choosing your favorite form of luxury: peace over payments, mobility over obligations, time over trinkets. A man is rich, Thoreau wrote, in proportion to the number of things which he can afford to let alone. That line could sit beside Marcus in your journal. The richest feeling is not possession. It is the absence of financial fear. Here is a short story to anchor the lesson. 2 friends received the same $5,000 bonus. The first paid off a small, high-interest balance, increased rent by $200 for a nicer place, and signed up for 2 premium services. Within 6 months, cash flow was tighter than before. The second friend split the bonus: $3,500 to investments, $1,000 to a skill course that improved her freelance close rate, and $500 to a weekend trip paid in cash. 2 years later, the first friend struggles with a $200 rent delta that constrains every choice. The second friend's investments grow quietly, her freelance rate is higher, and the annual trip remains because it was never funded by debt. Same bonus, opposite trajectories. Not luck, structure. Your exercise for this chapter is called the Automatic Gap Protocol. Step 1, decide your percentage: 15%, 20%, or 25%. Step 2, set an automatic transfer from your main account to your investment or asset account on the exact day income lands. Step 3, open a separate optional account and automate a small weekly allowance to it, so your brain has a safe sandbox and your essentials are never raided. Step 4, cancel or lower at least 3 expenses today. You already know which ones. Step 5, schedule the 30-minute value hunt on the first and third Saturdays of every month, recurring non-negotiable. Do this for 90 days and you will feel the difference in your chest before you see the difference in your balances. Peace arrives before the totals catch up. We close with a calm call to action and a bridge to what comes next. Kiyosaki's warning is not to shame spending, but to expose its invisible inertia. If spending rises to match income, wealth never compounds. If you build an automatic gap and treat raises as fuel for assets, freedom compounds. Marcus offers the mindset to sustain it. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Think in percentages, not prices. Think in systems, not spurts. For the next week, comment "gap secured" once you've set your automatic transfers, and it'll send a one-page checklist, the 3-bucket flow, the value hunt prompts, and a simple tracker to visualize your savings rate rising. Then meet me in the next chapter, Trap 3, the myth that school equals education, where we'll convert curiosity into financial literacy you can use the same day you learn it. Until then, let your expenses obey your goals, not your impulses, and let your peace be born from sufficiency. Part 3, Trap of School, Shashiri Education. At sunrise, when the city is quiet enough to hear your own thoughts, return to a simple question. What exactly is education? Robert Kiyosaki warns that many of us confuse school with education and mistake diplomas for financial literacy. A degree signals effort and mastery in a domain, but money obeys different laws: cash flow, assets, leverage, taxes, psychological biases. You can be brilliant in biology and broken budgeting, eloquent in literature and anxious before every bill. Marcus Aurelius lowers the flame under our pride. If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth. Education is not the paper we keep in frames. It is the capacity to change our minds when reality delivers new information, especially about money. Consider the path you were trained for: study hard, get good grades, find a stable job, and you will be safe. What went missing was a second curriculum: how money flows through your life. The first curriculum teaches you to be useful to someone else's system. The second teaches you to build or buy systems of your own. The first curriculum evaluates you annually. The second pays you daily if you set it up well. Kiyosaki's lens slices: cleanly assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out. If school taught you to collect prestigious liabilities, fancier leases, shinier degrees, social approval, you might look educated while your net worth silently erodes. Seneca warns we should learn not for school but for life. Learn then for the life you want, one with growing options, declining anxiety, and time you can spend on what matters. Let's separate signal from noise with arithmetic. If you devote 30 deliberate minutes per day to financial literacy, that's roughly 3.5 hours per week, 15 hours per month, and 180 hours per year. Not a grind of feverish hustle, just a calm practice. In 90 days, you'll log around 45 hours, enough to learn a small stack, reading a basic financial statement, understanding the difference between active income and passive cash flow, recognizing the tax consequences of short-term flipping versus long-term holding, and seeing why leverage without cash flow is a cliff. Most people overestimate what credentials will do and underestimate what consistent literacy will build. Epictetus writes, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Decide to be literate in money. Then build the 30-minute ritual that makes it true." School. Education is a trap because it relocates responsibility. If you believe education happened to you in a building, you wait for another building, a course, a boss, a guru to advance you. Stoicism hands the responsibility back. Your mind is your domain. Marcus again. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Treat money like an instrument you practice, not an aura you admire. Practice means repetition, reflection, and feedback, not perfection at the first attempt. Here's a micro-curriculum you can start today. Week 1, define assets, liabilities, cash flow, and net worth with your own numbers. Week 2, read one chapter on taxes relevant to your country, only what you can apply, not everything that exists. Week 3, study a leverage, skill, copywriting, distribution, data, or negotiation, and link it to earning more. Week 4, design a tiny cash flow machine and launch a first version. Data calms doubt. Suppose you build a $15 digital checklist for a narrow problem, like a client onboarding sequence for wedding photographers or a first 7 days plan for new fitness coaches. You share one practical tip daily on a single platform for 30 days and add that checklist as a simple call to action. If 2,000 people see your posts over a month, 2% click and 2% of clickers buy, that's 0.8% of viewers purchasing, around 16 sales or $240 for a modest effort. If you repeat for 3 months and improve your copy and targeting, you can double or triple that without moving mountains. Is this a jackpot? No. It's education converting into cash flow. And once you see even a trickle of money while not present, your brain learns a new lesson. School never taught assets or teachers that pay you back. The fear here is common. I don't know where to start. Start where you spend. If you pay rent, learn negotiations with landlords, typical price ranges, and the math of moving versus staying. If you carry debt, map interest rates, minimum payments, and the compounding drag. If you run a side project, learn the difference between a business and a hobby in the eyes of the tax authority and what records keep you safe. If you invest, learn fee structures, broad index behavior, and why time and market beats market timing for most people. Each of these lessons replaces anxiety with a lever. Stoicism tells us focus on what you control. In money, you control your savings rate, your skill building, your offers, your record keeping, and your systems. Everything else, rates, recessions, headline, gets acknowledged and bracketed, not worshipped. Let's bring in a story to anchor the shift. 2 nurses graduate the same year, same salary. Nurse A treats the degree as the final chapter. Nurse B treats it as chapter 1. A keeps every extra dollar in lifestyle. B keeps the first 15% for assets and the next 5% for education. A negotiation course that lifts her per diem rate by 15% within 6 months. A distribution mini course that helps her sell a small $19 PDF to fellow nurses about rapid patient handoff checklists with malpractice-safe language. A fights fatigue with spending. B fights fatigue with systems and skills. 3 years later, A makes more but keeps less. B has a calm schedule and a growing portfolio of tiny assets. The difference is not IQ. It's the refusal to outsource education to institutions and the insistence on building a private living curriculum. Now design your financial literacy practice like a musician designs scales. First, the instrument, choose 2 books or 1 course plus 1 podcast that you will finish in the next 30 days. Second, the daily scale, 30 minutes timer on notebook, open 1 concept, captured with an application line that starts, "Therefore I will." Third, the weekly piece. 1 small experiment, renegotiate a bill test, a new offer headline, open a separate optional account to isolate discretionary spending or file every receipt for a week to watch patterns. Fourth, the recital on Sunday, write a 200-word micro-report titled, "What I Learned About Money This Week," and post it to a small audience or keep it in a private journal. The recital is how you integrate. Without integration, information floats and fades. Measurement matters. Build a single-page scorecard called the Money Baseline. Row 1, monthly take-home pay. Row 2, monthly investing plus debt paydown. Row 3, savings rate percent. Row 4, active income from main job. Row 5, side cash flow from assets. Row 6, hours spent on money practice. Row 7, stress level from 110 honest. Update this scorecard on the last day of every month. Don't chase perfect metrics. Chase consistency. When the savings rate ticks from 8% to 12% to 18%, when the side cash flow shows its first $50, and then $200 when the stress number drops from 7 to 5, you'll have proof that education is not a speech you listen to, it's a system you run. Quotes can become rails to keep you steady. Keep 3 on a card near your workspace. Marcus. What stands in the way becomes the way. Apply it when a concept feels difficult, taxes, negotiations, or reading a statement. Seneca. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Apply it when a small windfall appears. Direct it to assets, not appetite. Epictetus. No man is free who is not master of himself. Apply it when you want to spend before you invest or scroll before you create. These lines are not ornaments. They are operating instructions for the days when your mood would rather drift. Here is your exercise for this chapter, the 3303 Money Habit. For the next 30 days, spend 30 minutes each day on one of 3 tracks: literacy, leverage, or launch. Literacy, read a page and define a term in your own word. Asset, amortization, EBITDA. Withholding, then write 1 application line. Therefore, I will practice a skill that multiplies income, write 150 words of copy, analyze one tiny data set, or draft a negotiation script for a raise or freelance pitch. Launch ship one micro asset or micro offer per week, one sheet checklist, 5 email mini course, or a 30-minute paid consultation with a clear promise. At the end of 30 days, write a 300-word reflection titled School Ended, Education Began, and list 3 visible changes in your finances or mindset. Let's close with calm clarity and a handoff to the next chapter. Kiyosaki's warning is not anti-school, it is anti-passivity. School can be a door, but education is the walking that follows. If you do the 3303 money habit, keep the money baseline scorecard, and launch one tiny cash flow machine, you will feel smarter not because you memorized terms, but because you altered results. Marcus offers the posture to maintain it. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. For the next week, embody it 30 minutes a day, one experiment, one report. Comment Education in Motion. When you start, and it'll send you a one-page map with the core terms, the weekly experiment menu, and a simple scorecard template. In the next chapter, Trap 4, Fear of Debt or Blind Love of It, we will learn how to hold debt with a stoic hand, neither terrified nor intoxicated, only rational. Part 4, Trap of Fear of Debt or Blind Love of It. Picture a quiet morning when your mind is clear enough to separate fear from fact. Debt sits on the table like a tool. It can build a bridge, or it can break a hand. Robert Kiyosaki warns that most people fall into one of two extremes. They fear all debt and miss healthy forms of leverage, or they worship debt and drown in liabilities they cannot carry. Stoicism offers the middle path. Marcus Aurelius would say that the wise person stands between panic and indulgence and judges each case by reason. Debt is neither angel nor demon. It is a contract. Treat it as such. Begin with a simple map. There is debt that builds assets, and there is debt that funds consumption. The first can help you create cash flow or long-term value. The second asks your future self to pay for yesterday's mood. If a loan lets you acquire a tool that produces steady revenue above its cost after taxes and fees, you are using a lever. If a balance sits on a card for a vacation, a gadget, or a restaurant habit, you are placing a stone on your chest. The distinction sounds obvious, yet many lives are decided by the confusion between these two paths. A calm example turns down the noise. Imagine a small machine you can buy for $5,000 that allows you to fulfill orders in half the time and adds $400 a month to your net income after all costs. If the loan on that machine costs you less than that net figure and you have emergency reserves, the decision may be rational. Now imagine the same $5,000 charged to a high-interest card for a trip. No return, only a monthly drain that follows you home. One choice buys a lever. The other buys a story that fades while the balance remains. Numbers help you stay honest. Write down each debt you hold, the interest rate, the payment, and the remaining months. Sort the list by interest rate from highest to lowest. Choose a payoff order that clears costly balances first while making at least minimum payments on the rest. Some prefer the snowball approach, where you clear the smallest balance to win momentum. Others prefer the avalanche approach, where you attack the highest interest rate even if the balance is larger. Pick a method you can sustain in the real world and track it each month in one simple sheet. Progress that you can see is progress you can repeat. Fear of debt often hides a deeper fear. It is the fear of risk, of being seen failing, of choosing and being wrong. Stoicism reminds us to focus on control. You control your savings rate, your learning, your record, keeping your choice of projects and your buffers. You do not control the economy, the market, or the headlines. If you avoid all debt forever, you may avoid some pain, but you may also avoid some growth. If you embrace all debt, you may feel powerful in the short run and powerless later. Instead, practice indifferent judgment. Look at the cash flow. Look at the total cost. Look at the worst case and ask whether you remain intact. Blind love of debt tends to wear elegant clothes. It calls itself expansion. It calls itself scale. It whispers that revenue will arrive simply because you desire it. The Stoic takes a different posture. First, prove the sales motion without leverage. Second, document the process that produces repeatable results. Third, if demand exceeds your current capacity and the margin can absorb financing, consider a loan that is small enough to survive a bad quarter. Hope is not a plan. A small buffer is. Consider a personal case study. A freelancer takes a loan to build a basic studio at home. She has already booked 3 clients a month for 6 months at a rate that more than covers the repayment. She also keeps 3 months of living expenses in cash in a separate emergency line. Her repayment schedule is fixed, and her average net margin per project is strong enough that even if one month is weak, the next two cover the gap. In another city, a freelancer swipes a card for the best cameras on day one without a single paying client. The first trusts a tested system and borrows against a known stream. The second borrows against a wish. The smallest details keep you safe. If your debt is variable, understand how and when the rate adjusts. If there are fees for early payment, record them. If your loan requires insurance or maintenance, include those costs in your decision. Many people judge a loan only by the monthly payment and ignore the total cost. Do not price your future by the month alone. Price it by the full life of the contract. Marcus advised that we should examine every impression. Examine this one with care. Here is a simple diagnostic that fits on a single page. Title it Debt Reality Check. First line, write your total balances. Second line, write your weighted average interest rate. Third line, write your total monthly payments. Fourth line, write your monthly free cash after essentials and minimum savings. Fifth line, write your plan in one sentence for the next 90 days. That plan might read as follows. I will refinance one balance to a lower rate. I will switch to an avalanche method. I will sell 2 unused items to raise a lump sum. I will pause discretionary upgrades until the highest rate balance is gone. A clear plan keeps emotion from steering the car. Debt can also be used in asset building that is larger than your current income. Think of a small property purchased at a price where the rent after all costs exceeds the payment by a margin that remains healthy after a stress test. If a vacancy of 2 months would break you, the deal is fragile. If modest repairs would erase your margin, the deal is fragile. Good leverage survives an imperfect year. When in doubt, use conservative assumptions and walk away if the numbers require perfection. You do not need perfect returns. You need durable ones. The fear that often blocks wise use of debt is the fear of math. Remove the fear by practicing one calculation until it is second nature. Calculate the true annual cost of any balance. If a card quotes a monthly rate, convert it to an annual rate and compare. If a buy now offer advertises a low monthly figure, compute the total cost including fees. Do the same with a car loan, a business line, or a student loan. Once you see total cost clearly, you will not be charmed by small monthly figures that hide large long-term losses. Now design a practice routine that protects you from both extremes. Call it the debt alignment routine. First, classify each balance as asset building or consumption. Second, for any consumption balance, choose one of 2 moves. Either consolidate to a lower rate with a payoff schedule you can keep, or attack the highest rate now with every extra dollar while maintaining your emergency buffer. Third, for any asset building loan, write a short memo that proves the cash flow in plain numbers. If the memo is weak, the loan should not exist. Fourth, schedule a monthly review on the same day each month. Update numbers. Recommit to the plan. 30 minutes is enough. A story helps this settle. 2 friends each owe $10,000. One owes it on a card with a high rate. She calls the bank, secures a balance transfer with a strong introductory rate, cuts the card, and automates payments that will clear the balance before the promotion ends. She also takes one weekend job for 3 months to add a small extra payment. The other friend keeps the balance in place, pays the minimum, and opens a new card for convenience. 12 months later, the first owes nearly nothing and has proof that she can execute a plan. The second owes more than before and has proof that avoidance compounds as surely as interest does. Quotes can steady your hand when anxiety rises. Remember this from Marcus. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. If debt frightens you, learn the numbers until the fear has nothing left to feed on. Remember this from Seneca. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Prepare by building buffers and plans so that opportunities can be seized without panic. Remember this from Epictetus. No person is free who is not master of himself. Mastery in money arrives when your choices follow reason rather than impulse. Here is your exercise for this chapter. Complete the debt reality check today. Build a payoff plan you can stick to for the next 90 days. If you carry only consumption debt, pick one line to erase and one rate to reduce. If you carry only asset-building debt, write the cash flow memo and include a stress test for a bad quarter. If you carry none, write a policy for yourself that will prevent blind love of leverage later. For example, I will only borrow against proven cash flow. I will keep 3 months of expenses in reserve, and I will never fund consumption with a balance that carries interest. We close with a calm invitation and a bridge to the next chapter. Kiyosaki's warning about debt is meant to give you sight, not fear. Use debt with judgment. Refuse it when it funds appetite. Accept it in modest amounts when it multiplies tested systems. Marcus offers the posture to maintain this balance. Hold to what is within your power. Test each impression. Act without drama. If today's plan helped you, subscribe for weekly Stoic money lessons and comment debt align, so I can send you a one-page checklist that includes the debt reality, check the payoff methods, and the monthly review template. Next, we enter Trap 5. That is the trap of paycheck emotions where mood swings try to run your money. We will replace those swings with calm systems that do not tire. Part 5, Trap of Paycheck. Emotions, picture the calendar page turning. On payday morning, your shoulders loosen, your breath is deep, decisions feel easy. 10 days later, your jaw tightens, small expenses sting, and by the third week, a low hum of worry rides with you everywhere. Robert Kiyosaki warns that money ruled by mood cannot compound. Marcus Aurelius offers the antidote in one line. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. The trap of paycheck emotions is simple. We let a date on a calendar swing our judgment. We make good choices on the day of plenty and poor choices in the days of drought. A life run by that cycle cannot build freedom. Think of emotions as weather and systems as architecture. Weather changes. Architecture stands. When your money life depends on how you feel, you will upgrade on the happy days and grasp on the anxious days. When your money life depends on a system, you will do the same right thing, whether you feel like a king or a castaway. The most reliable system for steadying mood is to route income through a simple flow the instant it arrives. 3 accounts, 3 jobs, 0 heroics. Essentials covers your rent or mortgage, food, utilities, transport, insurance, and bare minimum commitments. Investing is the silent builder that receives its share before anyone else does. Optional is the sandbox where you play without guilt. Separate accounts, automatic transfers, same day every month. Feelings become background music. The score stays the same. Let us bring arithmetic to calm the noise. Imagine net income of 1,000. On the day it lands, you send a fixed slice to investing, another to optional, and leave the rest in essentials. If the fixed slice to investing is 200 and the slice to optional is 150, you have removed 350 from the arena of impulse before your mood wakes up. Over 12 months, you will have invested 2,400 without asking your feelings for permission. If markets deliver a modest long-term average return, those contributions begin to carry their own weight. The important shift is not the absolute number. It is the fact that your future no longer depends on how you felt on any given Tuesday. Why is this trap so powerful? Because emotions whisper urgent stories. On payday, they say you deserve it, upgrade. Now joy will solve your fatigue. On the lean days, they say danger, hold everything, cancel the course that would have improved your income, skip the gym, delay the phone call that could close a deal. Stoicism is not about silencing emotion by force. It is about giving emotion a seat in the back while reason drives. Marcus writes, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Money events include income dates, surprise bills, social pressure, and headlines. You cannot control their arrival. You can control the rules by which your money flows when they arrive. Here is a 2-week case study. 2 friends each earn the same and receive income on the same day. The first allows feelings to lead. She treats payday as a festival, buys things that do not survive the week, and then lives on noodles and stress until the next check. The second treats payday as logistics day. She allows herself a planned small celebration from the optional account and then turns to the checklist. Transfers executed, bills scheduled, calendar set. 10 days later, the first is white-knuckled and reactive. The second is steady and nearly bored by money. Boredom is a compliment. It means the system is carrying the weight. Another way to quiet paycheck emotion is to flatten irregularities. Many bills can be set to the same date or to two predictable dates. Many incomes can be smoothed by sending them to a holding account and paying yourself the same amount on the same schedule. If you freelance or earn commissions, pay yourself a fixed monthly salary from your business account and let surpluses sit as a buffer for thin months. In practice, this means the architecture absorbs the weather. The month no longer feels like a roller coaster. It feels like a track. Let us speak about numbers people avoid. Late fees and overdraft fees are not moral failures. They are the tax we pay for letting mood run operations. A $10 or $20 fee may look small, but a handful of those across a year silently erase a week of investing. A single missed payment can raise rates on a card, turning a manageable balance into a grinding one. The cure is not shame. The cure is automation. Set payments to occur 2 to 3 days after income arrives. Keep a small buffer in essentials so timing does not ambush you. Use alerts that trigger before balances get low. You are not trying to be perfect. You are trying to be predictable. Now a story with plain edges. A teacher was paid once a month. The first week felt rich. The third week felt poor. The fourth week felt like failure. She created 3 envelopes with real names and real accounts. Essentials investing optional. She scheduled transfers on payday plus 30 minutes. She also added a small practice she called the Quiet 10. Every weekday, she sat for 10 minutes and looked at 3 numbers. Current balance in essentials. Total contributed to investing year to date. Days until the next income. That tiny ritual did not change her salary. It changed her weather. The third week became a normal week. The fourth became a calm week. A year later, she had the same job, the same students, and a very different chest. A common objection sounds practical. I cannot automate because my income is irregular. That is exactly why you need to automate. Build what we can call a 2-gate system. Gate 1 is a holding account for all income. Gate 2 is your personal payroll. Twice a month or once, if that is simpler, the same amount flows from the holding account to your personal accounts. You have just turned a river into a canal. It no longer floods your decision-making. If a month is strong, money remains in the holding account and builds a buffer. If a month is weak, the buffer releases a little, and you still live on a normal amount. The feeling of control follows the fact of control. Another objection is emotional. I want to enjoy myself when I finally get paid. Good. So plan the joy. Choose a small ritual and fund it inside optional right away. Maybe it is a dinner with a friend, a new book, or a class you have been eyeing. When planned joy has a place, your mind stops hunting for random treats that turn into regret. Stoicism is not the enemy of pleasure. It is the ally of proportion. The right pleasure at the right time strengthens you. The wrong pleasure at the wrong time steals from you twice, once in money and once in mood. Quotes can become handholds on the steeper parts of the month. Keep these close. Marcus Aurelius. If you are disturbed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Seneca. He who is brave is free. Epictetus. No man is free who is not master of himself. When the middle of the month tries to make you feel trapped, read those lines aloud. Then do one small mechanical action that brings you back to control. Move $10 to savings, cancel a tiny leak. Prepare a simple meal at home. Write one sales message. Small controlled actions shrink large uncontrolled feelings. Let us add a few practical mechanics that fit on one page. Title it Paycheck Calm Plan. Line 1, write your income dates. Line 2, write your automatic transfer amounts to essentials investing and optional. Line 3, write which bills are scheduled to which dates. Line 4, write your minimum buffer target for essentials, for example, 1/2 of your typical month. Line 5, write your emergency plan for the unexpected. For example, if a bill arrives out of cycle, I will pause optional and sell one unused item within 7 days. Put this page where you will see it on income day. Read it before you touch the money. You are a pilot reviewing a checklist before takeoff. Data gives courage. Track 3 numbers weekly for the next 12 weeks. 1 total contributed to investing this year. 2 number of automatic payments scheduled and successfully executed. 3 number of unplanned swipes and optional. You are not trying to impress anyone. You are trying to notice patterns before they become problems. When the first number rises steadily, the second number stays at 100%, and the third number gently falls, your nervous system learns that you are a steady hand at the wheel. Here is your exercise for this chapter. Build the Paycheck Calm plan today. Open or designate 3 accounts. Schedule the transfers for the very next income day. Set 2 payment dates for most bills so you can cluster them and clear mental space. Create a holding account if your income is irregular and decide on your personal payroll amount and schedule. Then for the next 7 evenings, do the quiet 10. Sit down, breathe, write the 3 numbers, and take 1 tiny action. Cancel 1 leak. Pack 1 lunch. Draft 1 page of a simple offer. This is how a system becomes yours. We close with a calm invitation and a bridge to the next chamber. Kiyosaki warns that moods tied to salary days destroy compounding because they turn money into a storm. Marcus offers the posture that we need to walk through storms without losing our center. Hold to what is in your control. Let a simple architecture carry you. If this helped you, subscribe for weekly Stoic money breakdowns, comment Calm Payroll, and I will send a 1-page checklist that includes the Paycheck Calm plan, the Quiet 10 template, and the 2-gate system for irregular income. Next, we will enter Trap 6, the trap of tax amnesia, where predictable obligations surprise people every year. We will make those obligations visible and manageable so they never ambush you again. Part 6, Trap of Tax Amnesia. At the turn of each year, many people are surprised by something that arrives on the same schedule every time. Taxes are not a thunderstorm, they are the seasons. Robert Kiyosaki warns that most people optimize for income and ignore after-tax wealth. They build speed and then complain about wind resistance. Stoicism gives us the posture to deal with what is predictable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not be surprised by the predictable." The trap of tax amnesia is simple. You act as if taxes are a random event, and then you let them ambush your plans. A calm life treats taxes as part of the design, not as an emergency. Begin with a shift in identity. You are not only an earner, you are an allocator. Each month, you allocate some money to essentials, some to investing, some to optional. Add one more, you allocate to obligations that will arrive whether you acknowledge them or not. When you plan for them, they become lighter. When you ignore them, they gain weight. Kiyosaki separates income from after-tax results for a reason. 2 people can earn the same and keep very different amounts because one uses structure and the other uses hope. Hope is not a plan. Structure is. Think of taxes as 3 levers you can learn to pull like a craftsman. The first lever is timing. In many places, holding an asset longer can change how gains are treated. Short holding periods can be taxed like ordinary income, while long holding periods can enjoy lower rates. The second lever is account type. Some accounts allow contributions to reduce taxable income today. Others allow growth without tax while the asset compounds. Still others allow withdrawals in the future without tax if rules are followed. The third lever is entity choice. When you run a real business rather than a hobby, certain costs that are ordinary and necessary to produce income can be deductible. The details vary by country, but the principle is steady. Timing account type and entity can redirect the same dollar into a better after-tax destiny. Numbers make the fog lift. Imagine you invest $300 each month for 10 years. If those contributions live in a fully taxable account, every dividend may be taxed each year, and any rebalancing may trigger tax on gains. If those same contributions live in a tax-advantaged account that fits your situation, the difference after a decade can be thousands to tens of thousands, simply because compounding was not forced to share so much along the way. The exact numbers depend on local rules and returns, but the pattern is reliable. Structure makes compounding heavier and taxes lighter. Let us address a common mistake. People scramble in April or whenever their deadline is hunting for last-minute receipts or begging a software to find a miracle. That is tax amnesia in action. The Stoic approach is monthly and boring. On the same day each month, you collect receipts, update a simple ledger, and place every document in a folder with clear names. You keep separate accounts for business income and expenses if you have a side venture, so the trail is clean. You track estimated payments if they are required so that you do not receive a penalty letter later. Boring is beautiful here. Boring is profitable. Consider a practical case study. 2 photographers each earn the same revenue. The first treats the business like a casual hobby, mixes personal and business money, loses receipts, and guesses at deductions. The second opens a dedicated business account, pays for gear, and software from that account invoices from it and keeps a spreadsheet that lists date, vendor, purpose, and amount for every expense. At tax time, the first panics and overpays because fear of audit makes her discard legitimate deductions. The second files calmly pays what is due and keeps capital that belongs to her. The difference is not a genius trick. It is deliberate record-keeping tied to a simple structure. Stoicism reminds us to think about control. You do not control rates set by the law. You do control whether you learn a handful of rules that apply to you. You control whether you keep clean records. You control whether you pick a structure that fits your reality. If you run a small side business, learn the thin line between a hobby and a business in your jurisdiction and cross the line deliberately. If you invest, learn the basics of long-term treatment of gains versus short-term and why excessive trading often hurts after tax returns. If you have access to accounts that defer or shelter tax, understand contribution limits and withdrawal rules. Knowledge in this domain replaces anxiety with options. Data gives courage. Imagine two scenarios. In the first, you earn $50,000 and save 10% without any structure. In the second, you earn the same $50,000, save the same 10%, but you place your savings into a tax-advantaged account that fits your country and your situation. Over 15 years at a steady average return, the difference can be several months to more than a year of living expenses simply because less was shaved off each year. We do not need exact numbers to see the point. When you keep more after the rules are applied, freedom arrives sooner. Another arena where structure matters is how you handle windfalls. Many treat a bonus or a freelance surge as free money. Later, they are surprised by the tax bill. The Stoic practice is to split a windfall on arrival. A fixed slice goes to taxes into a separate holding account so it cannot be accidentally spent. A second slice goes to investing or debt paydown. A small slice funds planned joy. You do not starve the spirit, but you do not blind the planner. When the bill arrives, you smile because the cash is already waiting for its job. There is also the quiet power of documentation. Create a one-page document called Tax Playbook. At the top, you list the accounts you use, the contribution dates you target, and the professional you will consult if needed. In the middle, you list a few deductions you understand and qualify for in your situation. At the bottom, you list deadlines for estimated payments, if those apply to you, and the monthly record-keeping day you have chosen. Place this page somewhere visible. Each time you follow the steps, you draw a small line. Lines become streaks. Streaks become ease. A brief word about ethics and sanity. The goal is to be legal, simple, and repeatable. Avoid schemes that promise impossible outcomes. A structure you can defend in plain language is usually the right one. When unsure, consult a qualified professional in your country. A single hour of guidance can save you months of confusion. Marcus would approve of the humble approach. Do what is necessary. Do it well. Do it without theater. Quotes anchor resolve. Remember Marcus. Do not be surprised by the predictable. Remember Seneca. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Remember Epictetus. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In money, this means you decide to be the kind of person who keeps clean records, uses the accounts available and plans for the bill that will arrive. Then you do the small monthly work that makes the identity true. Here is your exercise for this chapter. Build your tax playbook today. Choose a monthly record-keeping day. Open or designate a separate account for tax set-asides if you receive variable income. List the accounts you will use for long-term investing and write the contribution amounts you aim for this year. If you run a side business, open a dedicated account and wrote all business income and expenses through it for the next 90 days. Set calendar reminders for estimated payments if they apply. Finally, write a small windfall rule on the top of a note and tape it near your desk. For example, when a bonus arrives, I will send 1/3 to tax, set aside 1/3 to investing or debt reduction, and use the remaining third for planned joy. We close with a calm call to action and a bridge to the next chamber. Kiyosaki's warning about tax amnesia is not a trick. It is a lens. After-tax wealth is what funds freedom. When you make taxes part of your architecture, you remove surprise and you allow compounding to run without heavy drag. If this chapter helps, subscribe for weekly Stoic money breakdowns and comment Taxes Tamed, so I can send you a one-page template that includes the tax playbook, a monthly checklist, and a simple tracker for contributions and set-asides. Next, we will step into Trap 7, where the single skill stagnation keeps earning power flat. We will stack one leverage skill on top of another until your income curve bends in your favor. Part 7, Trap of Single Skill Stagnation. At dawn, think of a craftsman walking into a quiet workshop. On the bench lies a single tool polished from years of use. It is reliable, familiar, comforting. Yet the world outside now asks for 3 tools, sometimes 4, and the craftsman who brings only one is politely thanked and quietly replaced. Robert Kiyosaki warns that a single skill, a single boss, a single ladder creates fragile income. You can work harder, yes, but your curve stays flat because there is no leverage. Marcus Aurelius gives us the posture to grow without panic. Be like the rock the waves crash over unmoved, and yet over time the rock shapes the sea. The trap of single skill stagnation is not that your skill is weak. It is that the market no longer pays enough for it alone. A useful frame is to think in stacks. A single layer is a job. 2 layers begin to look like opportunity. 3 layers and you start to bend the curve. Stack selling with writing. Stack data with negotiation. Stack domain knowledge with distribution. Small additions produce large effects because they change conversion rates, cycle times, and price power. Imagine a freelancer who writes well but never asks for the close. Her proposal win rate sits at 20 out of 100. She learns simple negotiation scripts and basic objection handling, and the win rate climbs to 40 out of 100. Same pipeline, twice the revenue. No extra hours, only an added skill. Arithmetic turns this from slogan to system. Suppose you quote 100 proposals a year, each worth 500 net. At a 20% close rate, you bring in 50,000 gross before costs. At a 40% close rate, you bring in 100,000. If you also learn distribution so your work reaches more qualified buyers, you may raise the close rate to 40 and the average proposal value to 600. Now the same year produces 120,000. The difference is not hustle, it is stacked design. The math is plain and the path is learnable. Stoicism helps you avoid the 2 errors that keep people stuck. The first error is vanity. I am already good at my thing, why change? Marcus would say, if someone can show you a better way, leave your anger behind and follow it. The second error is a despair. There is too much to learn, why start? Marcus again, do what is necessary. The necessary step is rarely a 5th degree or a year off. It is the next single leverage skill that multiplies what you already do. Choose one practice daily, ship a small public result in 2 weeks, and then iterate. Calm repetition brings compounding. The market tends to reward 4 families of leverage skills. Communication that converts, such as clear writing, simple storytelling, and direct offers. Distribution that places your work in front of more of the right people, whether through partnerships, basic search literacy, or consistent short-form teaching. Quant that sharpens your decisions from simple data analysis to tracking cohorts and understanding unit economics. Negotiation that protects your margins and raises your price without raising your temperature. Pick the family that best complements your main craft. If you are technical, learn copy that sells a technical promise in ordinary words. If you are creative, learn simple analytics so your art lands where buyers live. If you are analytical, learn human conversation that turns insight into agreement. Let us anchor this with 2 short stories. In the first, a designer with 5 years of experience earns a stable salary and feels capped. She chooses negotiation as her next layer. She reads one slim book, practices 3 closing lines out loud each morning, and requests a raise with a clear business case that connects her work to measurable outcomes. She does not get the full number she asked for. She gets part of it and a path to the rest in 3 months, and she adds a small freelance offer on the side with a fixed scope and fixed fee. 12 months later, her total income is up by 1/3 with no more hours because each hour is priced and placed better. In the second story, a marketer stops blaming the algorithm and learns basic data cleaning and cohort tracking. She can now show a client not only the clicks, but the retained customers. Her proposals add a short section titled, "What Stays After Week 4?" Her close rate jumps because she sells outcomes, not impressions. Numbers will keep you honest about which layer to add. Build a 1-page score called Income Mechanics. On the left, list your current main skill and the key steps that convert effort into income, such as leads, calls, proposals, closed deals, delivery time, average price repeat rate. On the right, list 4 leverage candidates and write how each would raise one of those steps by a small, realistic amount. If writing better could raise your reply rate from 10 to 15 out of 100, note it. If distribution could double the number of qualified leads without doubling your hours, note it. If negotiation could lift average price from 500 to 600, note it. If analytics could cut delivery time by 1 hour per project, note that too. You do not need to improve everything. 2 small improvements in the right places can change the shape of the year. Practice turns intent into muscle. Create a simple routine called the 14-day stack sprint. Day 1, choose the single leverage skill to add. Day 2 through day 12, practice 30 focused minutes daily, and each day produce a tiny artifact. A new subject line tested a landing page sentence rewritten 3 ways. A small spreadsheet that tracks outcomes, not vanity. A 2-paragraph negotiation script for a common objection. Day 13, ship a micro project that uses the new layer in the real world. Day 14, review the numbers and write a short note titled, "What improved and where it showed up." Repeat the sprint with the same skill if you saw movement, or choose the next leverage layer if you did not. You can also think in terms of a portfolio of tiny assets that monetize your new layer. A good copy block becomes a template. A clean data set becomes a reusable report. A negotiation script becomes a 1-page PDF you sell or give away to build an audience. A distribution checklist becomes a 15-minute mini course. The revenue from these may start small, but their secondary effect is large. They teach the market that you do more than one trick. They teach you the language of buyers. They slowly move you from worker to builder. There is a mindset shift here that matters. You are not abandoning your main craft. You are honoring it by adding the skills that let it travel farther and sell dearer. The Stoic does not seek applause. The Stoic seeks effectiveness. Seneca wrote, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." In practical terms, that means when a client suddenly offers a larger scope, your negotiation layer is ready. When an employer asks for proof, your analytics layer is ready. When an audience stumbles onto your page, your writing and distribution layers are ready. Preparation makes the next door feel ordinary when it opens. A concrete example with calm numbers will help. Say you currently close 20 projects a year at 1,000 each. Your delivery time averages 10 hours per project for 200 total hours. You decide to improve 2 steps. First, negotiation to lift average price to 1,200. Second, analytics to reduce delivery time to 8 hours through better checklists and templates. With the same 20 projects, you now earn 24,000 and spend 160 hours. Your effective hourly rate moved from 100 to 150. If you also learn distribution and add 5 more projects without increasing hours too much, you can choose to work the same hours and earn more, or keep pay constant and buy back time. The point is choice. Choice is freedom. Quotes can act like rails as you add layers. Marcus Aurelius. What stands in the way becomes the way. When writing feels awkward, that awkwardness is the door. Epictetus. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Declare, "I am a builder with a stack," then follow the routine. Marcus again. Do not explain your philosophy, embody it. If someone asks why you are practicing negotiation lines into your phone, smile and keep practicing. Results will do the explaining. Here is your exercise for this chapter. Build your first 14-day stack sprint. Write down your main skill. Write down 4 candidate layers. Choose one. Set a daily 30-minute practice window for the next 12 days. Decide the tiny artifact you will produce each day. Book day 13 to ship a micro project, such as a 1-page offer, a small template pack, a 3-email sequence, or a short analysis your audience actually needs. On day 14, fill in the income mechanics score with before and after numbers. Then post a short note titled "Stack in Motion" and save it where you will see it next month. Small public commitments improve private follow-through. We close with a calm call to action and a bridge to the final trap. Kiyosaki warns that single skill stagnation keeps your income flat because you cannot raise price, win more work, or deliver faster without strain. Marcus offers the temperament to stack without drama. Hold to what is in your power, 1 layer, 1 sprint, 1 result at a time. If this chapter helps, subscribe for weekly Stoic money breakdowns and comment stack built, and I will send you a 1-page worksheet that includes the income mechanics score and the 14-day stack sprint template. Next, we enter Trap 8 Consumption before Creation, where the phone steals your morning and your future. We will replace it with a simple daily practice that turns attention into assets. Part 8, Trap of Consumption before Creation. At first light, the city yawns and reaches for the glowing rectangle. Thumb scroll, sigh, repeat. Minutes melt, and with them the morning's finest power. Robert Kiyosaki warns that money flows to creators and owners, not to scrollers and reactors. Marcus Aurelius gives the posture to reverse the drift. First do the work, then let everything else follow. The trap of consumption before creation begins as a comfort and ends as a cage. It promises knowledge while stealing attention. It promises connection while scattering focus. The way out is simple and strong. Create first, then consume later in small chosen doses. Think of your morning like a gate that decides the fate of the day. If the first minutes go to the world's agenda, the rest of the day bends around it. If the first minutes go to your agenda, the rest of the day respects it. The 90-10 rule is a quiet engine. Spend the first 90 minutes making something that pushes your life forward. Spend the next 10 minutes browsing as a reward and a quick scan. Do not swap the order. Order is destiny. Marcus would say, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Your phone is an outside event. Your first 90 is the mind. Why does this matter for wealth? Because creation compounds and consumption evaporates. 10 focused hours of creation a week becomes roughly 500 hours a year. 500 hours is enough to write a short book, build a durable course, publish a template library, ship a freemium tool, or send 50 value-dense newsletters that sell a clear offer. Meanwhile, 500 hours of consumption is a blur. You finish tired, opinionated, and unchanged. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." The waste is not only time, it is decision, energy, courage, and momentum. Let us place arithmetic on the table. Suppose you work a normal job and can create for 90 minutes on 2 weekdays and 3 weekend sessions. That is roughly 7.5 hours weekly. Over 12 weeks, you have around 90 hours. In 90 hours, you can outline, record, and edit a 2-hour mini course with worksheets or assemble a 100-page playbook from threads and checklists. You already know how to produce or develop a 10-template pack in a narrow niche and a clean landing page with a simple checkout. If your price is $29 and your first launch reaches 2,000 people and 1% of viewers buy, that is 20 sales and 580 in revenue. Not a miracle, but a base camp. With 2 more cycles, better copy, and a small partner list, the same asset can reach 5,000 people at a 2% conversion and bring in nearly 3,000. The numbers are not the ceiling. They are the proof that creation pays while you sleep. The first enemy of creation is the infinite scroll. It weaponizes novelty against your attention. Stoicism gives you 2 shields. The first shield is environment. Put distance between your wake-up and your phone by charging the phone outside the bedroom and placing a single sheet on the desk that reads, First 90. Build, then browse. The second shield is ritual. Sit down at the same time with the same tools in the same place and begin with a single sentence prompt. Today I will produce 1 useful page for people who share problem X. Ritual beats motivation. Marcus again. At day's first light, tell yourself today, I will face interference and ingratitude. Expect it. Meet it. Keep working. Here is a story with plain edges. A developer wanted to build a tiny analytics helper, but spent mornings reading, comparing, and bookmarking instead of writing code. He tried the 90-10 rule for 30 days. He placed his phone on a shelf in another room, opened his editor with a checklist, and refused to browse until 1 pull request was shipped. In 4 weeks, he shipped a small command line tool, a 1-page guide, and a short video demo. The tool sold 10 copies the first week at $9. Then it sold 30 copies the second month at $19 after he added a simple feature customers asked for. The money was small. The education was huge. He learned that creation does not require a perfect plan. It requires a first commit. Another story is from a teacher who wanted to write but felt drained after school. She flipped the script. Mornings became writing, afternoons became grading, and meetings, evenings became light reading or walks. She aimed for a single page each morning, 5 days a week. Most days she wrote only 300 words. Some days she wrote 800. After 14 weeks, she had a short manuscript, a list of practical classroom exercises, and an email list of 200 from sharing small excerpts. She sold 50 copies of a simple workbook at 15 and booked 2 small workshops at 200 each. More important than the cash, she owned a rhythm that made future books easier. The second enemy of creation is perfection. It whispers that the next tutorial, the next framework, the next piece of gear will finally unlock your genius. Stoicism cuts through with a blade. Do what is necessary. Publish a simple version 1. Let the market teach you what version 2 must be. Kiyosaki's lens agrees. Assets begin as clumsy machines and become smoother through use. The only way to test a machine is to turn it on. If you need structure, set a shipping cadence. 1 micro asset every week for 8 weeks. A checklist, a thread, a template, a short lesson, a single-page lens on a common problem. 8 shipments teach you more than 8 weeks of research. Let us talk about inputs because creation is not starvation. The point is not to ban consumption, it is to curate it. Build a small input diet with 2 parts. First, sources that make you better at your craft, like 1 book, 1 course, and 1 podcast that you actually finish. Second, sources that make you understand your audience, like 5 customer interviews or 10 threads where they describe their struggles in their words. Inputs should be chosen, scheduled and finished, not grazed. When inputs are clean, outputs are easier. When inputs are noisy, outputs stall. Data can help you trust the habit. Track 3 numbers for the next 30 days. 1, first 90 adherents, the number of mornings you created before consuming. Aim for 20 or more. 2 shipped artifacts, the number of visible pieces you sent into the world. Aim for 8 or more. 3 audience growth measured as email subscribers or replies or direct messages from people helped. Aim for steady weekly increases, even if small. When the first number stays high, the second follows and the third begins to move. Your nervous system learns that creation reduces anxiety because it increases options. Now design a practice you can run without drama. Call it the First 90 Protocol. Step 1, decide your creation lane for the next month. Examples include a mini course, a template pack, a 1-page offer for a 30-minute consultation, a small research report, or a short book. Step 2, prepare a daily checklist with 4 boxes. Sit, start, produce, publish, or stage. Produce means 1 meaningful chunk, such as 5 minutes of recorded audio, 1 finished template, 1 edited page, or 1 finished section. Publish or stage means either you ship it or you line it up to ship on a weekly cadence. Step 3, set a simple device rule. Phone sleeps outside the room until your first chunk is complete. Step 4, set a 10-minute browse window after the chunk and use it to find 1 audience pocket to share your work. Step 5, review on Sunday with a single question. What did I finish? There will be objections. What if my work requires me to be online early? Then carve a smaller first block. 30 minutes of creation before any digital noise still beats 0. What if I have kids and mornings are chaos? Trade for an evening block or a lunch block, but keep the rule. Creation before consumption whenever your day truly begins. What if I do not know what to make? Start with a problem you solved last week. Turn your solution into a checklist, a script, a template, or a short walkthrough. The best assets begin as answers to small recurring pains. Quotes can be handles on the cold mornings. Marcus Aurelius. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. When distraction stands in your way, that is your training ground. Seneca. While we are postponing life speeds by, let that line move you from saving links to shipping work. Epictetus. No man is free who is not master of himself. Mastery of attention is the first mastery because everything good grows from it. A final story to settle the lesson. A small cohort of 10 creators committed to the First 90 Protocol for 60 days. At the start, most had nothing published and felt scattered. At day 60, the group had collectively shipped 86 artifacts. 2 people had their first 1,000 in revenue. 4 had between 100 and 500 from tiny offers. 3 had no money yet, but all had real lists, real feedback, and calmer mornings. The cohort agreed on one sentence. It was not talent that moved the needle. It was the order of the day. Creation first, consumption later. Here is your exercise for this chapter. Print a single page that reads First 90 Protocol at the top. Write your lane for the next 4 weeks. Under it, draw 4 rows of 7 small boxes and label them week 1 through week 4. Each day you complete your first 90 check the days box and write one line describing the chunk you finished. At the end of each week, ship something, no matter how small. A page, a template, a clip, a checklist, a short offer. If you miss a day, do not punish yourself. Begin again at the next dawn. Consistency is not perfection. Consistency is returning. We close with a calm invitation and a final call to action for the series. Kiyosaki warns that consumption before creation keeps you poor because it gives your prime energy to other people's systems. Marcus offers the simple discipline that gives your energy back to you. Do the work first. Let the noise wait. If this chapter helps, subscribe for weekly Stoic money breakdowns, comment, create first, and I will send you a one-page first 90 checklist and a tiny calendar you can tape near your desk. Then start tomorrow. Sit, start, produce, publish. The money may arrive slowly at first, but the power arrives at once the moment you choose the order of your day. You can't control markets, bosses, or headlines. You can control your habits. Wealth isn't a roar. It's the quiet rhythm of correct decisions repeated until they compound. If this resonated, subscribe to Making Life Better, my weekly Stoic money breakdowns with simple playbooks, tiny experiments, and tools you can use the same day. Drop Emperor's Ledger in the comments, and it'll send you the free checklist to tame expenses, align debt, and route cash to assets before impulse wakes up. Share this with one friend who's ready to escape the traps and build on calm, not hype. Then take one small step before the day ends. Automate a transfer cancel, a leaked draft, a one-page offer, or schedule your first 90 minutes tomorrow. The goal isn't perfection, it's trajectory.